I have seen 3 emperors in their nakedness, and the sight was not inspiring.
When you want to fool the world, tell the truth. With a gentleman, I am always a gentleman and a half, and with a fraud I try to be a fraud and a half.
A journalist is a person who has mistaken their calling. Whoever speaks of Europe is wrong. It is a geographical expression. There is a providence that protects idiots, drunkards, children, and the United States of America. All treaties between great states cease to be binding when they come in conflict with the struggle for existence. Laws are like sausages. It is better not to see them being made. People never lie so much as after a hunt, during a war or before an election. Never believe anything in politics until it has been officially denied. The main thing is to make history, not to write it. When you say you agree to a thing in principle, you mean that you have not the slightest intention of carrying it out in practice. An appeal to fear never finds an echo in German hearts. Be polite, write diplomatically. Even in a declaration of war, one observes the rules of politeness. To retain respect for sausages and laws, one must not watch them in the making. When a man says he approves of something in principle, it means he hasn't the slightest intention of carrying it out in practice. Anyone who has ever looked into the glazed eyes of a soldier dying on the battlefield will think hard before starting a war. The great questions of the day will not be settled by means of speeches and majority decisions, but by iron and blood. Politics is the art of the next best. No civilization other than that which is Christian is worth seeking or possessing. A government must not waver once it has chosen its course. It must not look to the left or right, but go forward. A statesman must wait until he hears the steps of God sounding through events, then leap up and grasp the hem of his garment. The secret of politics: make a good treaty with Russia. There are 2 things civilized man should never see being made: sausages and laws. War should only be used for a policy worth its sacrifices. Politics is not an exact science. Nothing should be left to an invaded people except their eyes for weeping. Politics is not a science, as the professors are apt to suppose. It is an art. The Balkans aren't worth the life of a single Pomeranian grenadier. A government must not waver once it has chosen its course. It must not look to the left or right, but go forward. God always looks after the fools and the United States. Universal suffrage is the government of a house by its nursery. The luxury of one's own opinion. There is only one greater folly than that of the fool who says in his heart there is no God, and that is the folly of the people that says with its head that it does not know whether there is a God or not. They treat me like a fox, a cunning fellow Schlaukorpf of the first rank. But the truth is that with a gentleman, I am always a gentleman and a half, and when I have to do with a pirate, I try to be a pirate and a half. Vanity is a mortgage that must be deducted from the value of a man. Politics is the art of the possible, the attainable, the art of the next best. This policy cannot succeed through speeches and shooting matches. and songs, it can only be carried out through blood and iron. My subject is my life, and my life is my subject. Politics is like sausages. You don't want to watch either being made. There are two things you don't want to see being made: sausage and legislation. Let them stew in their own grease. I do not regard the procuring of peace as a matter in which we should play the role of arbiter between different opinions, more that of an honest broker who really wants to press the business forward. He who has his thumb on the purse has the power. I am bored. The great things are done. The German Reich is made. I am accustomed to pay men back in their own coin. You can do everything with bayonets, but you are not able to sit on them. Hounds follow those who feed them. A generation that has taken a beating is always followed by a generation that deals one. I have never lived on principles. When I have had to act, I never first asked myself on what principles I was going to act, but I went at it and did what I thought fit. I have often reproached myself for my want of principle. A Bavarian is halfway between an Austrian and a human being. I consider even a victorious war as an evil, from which statesmanship must endeavor to spare nations. Better pointed bullets than pointed words. The nation that has the skulls has the future. We are better off not knowing how sausages and laws are made. We Germans fear God, but nothing else in the world, and it is the fear of God which lets us love and foster peace. Beware of sentimental alliances where the consciousness of good deeds is the only compensation for noble sacrifices. The Catholic priest, from the moment he becomes a priest, is a sworn officer of the Pope. History is simply a piece of paper covered with print. The main thing is to make history, not to write it. Show me an objective worthy of war, and I will go along with you. Physicians still retain something of their priestly origin. They would gladly do what they forbid. With bad laws and good civil servants it's still possible to govern. But with bad civil servants even the best laws can't help. Revolutions in Prussia are started by kings, and since it is a revolution, it is better to start it ourselves than to suffer of it. Laws are like sausages. You sleep far better the less you know about how they are made. Let us put Germany, so to speak, in the saddle. You will see that she can ride. Politics are not a science based on logic. They are the capacity of always choosing at each instant, in constantly changing situations, the least harmful, the most useful. A little caution outflanks a large cavalry. A conquering army on the border will not be stopped by eloquence. I have found that nothing so deceives your adversaries as telling them the truth. A really great man is known by 3 signs: generosity in the design, humanity in the execution, moderation in success.